One of the most frustrating things in recovery is you're doing all the right things and still feeling stuck. You're doing the brain retraining practices. You're learning about neuroplastic pain and symptoms. You're creating safety in your nervous system. But no matter what you do, your pain and symptoms are not reducing. So, what's going on here? After helping hundreds of people recover from chronic pain and symptoms, I've noticed that most people don't get stuck because they're not trying hard enough. They get stuck because they make a few very common brain retraining mistakes. And today, we're going to discover if you're making one of these. Let's dive in. Mistake number 1. You think safe self-talk is enough. One of the most common mistakes I see people make when retraining their brain is they only use safe self-talk. So all day long, they tell themselves, my symptoms are neuroplastic. These are the signs that my symptoms are neuroplastic. This sensation is temporary. It's not permanent. It's going to go away and I can heal from this. And so they're reassuring themselves all day long with this safe self-talk. But it's important to understand how your brain and nervous system change. Your brain and nervous system change not just through the words you tell it. They change through sensations and experiences. So I always recommend that safe self-talk not be the only thing that you are practicing because that will keep you stuck. And so instead, we need to mix safe self-talk with embodiment practices. Now, with embodiment practices, you get exposure to dropping into your body, describing and being with the pain or symptom sensations. You explore them, you deepen your awareness of them, you approach them a little bit more inside. And so we're getting the exposure to the unpleasant sensations, and then we create safety with them. Now, this could be safe self-talk, could be present moment sensing, breath work, visualization. But this is what embodiment entails, exposure and safety. And by doing this, you start to teach your brain that the sensations of pain or symptoms are not dangerous and that you can tolerate being with them. And over time, that's going to desensitize your nervous system, leading to pain and symptom reduction. And so embodiment is really key when we are retraining the brain. Now, the second thing is graded exposure. It's really important to understand that when we have chronic pain or symptoms, your brain starts to make all sorts of associations of what causes pain or symptoms. This could be movements, position, time of day. It could be foods, weathers, sounds, or smells. But your brain starts to link what of these conditions is potentially threatening or dangerous. Now, the unfortunate part is it starts to make errors. So, for example, when I had pain, sitting on couches was incredibly painful for my back. But because my pain was neuroplastic, there was nothing wrong with my back. My brain had just mistakenly learned couches and sitting on them equals danger. And so how do we switch this equation? How do we start to break that association so that you can live a very full life? Well, we need to do graded exposure, where you slowly and gradually start to approach the trigger. So I had to practice sitting on couches. I remember I was terrified, but I would do it for 3 or 4 minutes at a time. And while I did it, I used the embodiment practices to create some safety. And over time, my brain started to learn, oh, couches are actually safe to sit on. And as that happened, pain started to reduce. And so again, with graded exposure, you're giving your brain a real life experience of approaching something you fear. And this is essential for brain retraining. So if you've been using a lot of safe self-talk, you're feeling stuck, start to include embodiment practices and graded exposure. Mistake number 2, you have the wrong goal. Many people discover brain retraining because they are desperate for their symptoms to go away. And I get it, I've been there. But what happens is people start to monitor their symptoms all day long. They start to analyze after every brain retraining practice if their symptoms went up or down. And they get incredibly frustrated if their symptoms aren't eliminated right away. And so here's where people go wrong. They make the short-term goal of brain retraining symptom elimination. And when you do that, it's going to create a lot of intensity, pressure, self-criticism. And that's going to make you more dysregulated and worsen your symptoms. So it's vital to understand the short-term goal of brain retraining is not symptom elimination. The short-term goal is creating safety. So I always tell my clients what we're trying to do is create small healing wins and stack them up over time. So a small healing win is, starting to use safe self-talk and have less negative thinking. Starting to approach pain and symptoms inside and feel more regulated with them. Start to process emotions. Start to live life a little bit more. Widen your world out. These are all healing wins. And those healing wins stack up and create safety over time. Now, as that happens, it can help you get to the long-term goal of brain retraining, which is symptom elimination. And so it's vital for you to understand that you need to focus on the short-term goal first. So the short-term goal is safety. You stack up those healing wins, and then that's going to help you get to the long-term goal of symptom elimination. Mistake number 3, you're practicing outside your healing window. Another really common brain retraining mistake is people try to do embodiment practices with pain, symptoms, emotions, or dysregulation when the sensations are really high. And I get it, you're desperate to get better. But where people go wrong is they start to push their way through doing brain retraining practices, embodiment practices, when the sensations are really extreme. And if you do that, your nervous system is going to feel more in danger and actually increase your symptoms. So if your symptoms are high, do not do embodiment practices or most other brain retraining practices. What you want to do instead is for a short period, use strategic avoidance. Lie down in a dark room, have a warm bath, use heat or ice, massage the area, stretch out. Do something that helps you feel safe. And then once your symptom levels come down, then start to do embodiment practices. But as you're starting to approach embodiment again, make sure you have one foot in discomfort and the other foot in regulation. You want a balance of focusing on unpleasantness, but making sure you're regulated as you're doing it. Now, a simple way you can help achieve this is start your embodiment practice with a safety signal. Like when I was getting better and the sensations were a little bit higher, I would always start with a safety signal practice. So I would lie in bed and do 10 minutes of breath work. I would go sit in the sun and enjoy the sensations. Or I would watch my favorite show at the time, Modern Family, which I was watching last night. It's a great show, super light and goofy. And then I would go attend to the sensations. So you get the idea. Start with a safety signal practice that regulates you, and then dive into focusing on the unpleasant sensations. Mistake number 4, you're making healing too serious. How much pressure are you bringing to the healing work? Is brain retraining becoming another job or chore? Now, I see people do this all the time. They make their healing so serious. And so they have this rigid schedule of doing brain retraining practices 5 times a day at exact times. They're tracking every sensation throughout the day and constantly doing breath work or other safety signals to stay calm. When you do this, it puts so much pressure and intensity on yourself that your nervous system is never going to feel safe. And so this is why brain retraining can fail for people, is they've just made the process way too serious. Now, formal practices are helpful, like sitting down and meditating, but a lot of times there's like a feeling of seriousness as people do that. And so if you're struggling with this, I would really recommend doing informal practices as you live life. So Track your symptoms and do embodiment practices while you're walking your dog in the sun, while you're listening to your favorite playlist, while you're doing an art or craft, or maybe you do it while you're making cupcakes and joking around with your partner. But by doing this, you're making the brain retraining more from a place of ease and lightness and playfulness. And that's going to help calm your nervous system and help you heal your chronic symptoms. So remember to not make your brain retraining too serious. Mistake number 5, inconsistency. While you don't want to make your healing too serious, consistency still matters. Your brain changes through repetition. Your nervous system regulates through repetition, and your symptoms reduce through repetition. So one brain retraining practice is not going to desensitize your nervous system, but daily practices over many months will start to desensitize your system. And I learned this firsthand. In the first 3 months of my healing, I did brain retraining very consistently, probably 1 to 3 practices a day. And in the first month, didn't notice much. Second month, didn't notice a whole lot. Now, in the third month, I was in Mexico with my partner on our honeymoon. And I was scared about it because there was a lot of activity involved and I still had daily pain. Now, we went into the waves and we were playing around in the waves and I was getting batted around. We went back up to our room and I could feel my back. I could feel my back tightening and that burning pain in my lower back area was just starting to scream at me. And I remember I just did a little quick practice. I told myself I'm going to still enjoy my day. I refocused on my day and the pain just went away. It was a magical experience. I was like, whoa, that's wild that this has happened. But I want to be clear, it wasn't the brain retraining in the moment that made my pain go away. It was all the brain retraining practices that I did over 3 months. So remember, consistency is key. If you're only doing brain retraining once or twice a week, it's going to take you 50 years to get better. So yes, be consistent, but don't make your healing super intense and serious either. So if you're struggling with the brain retraining work, please don't assume you are incapable of healing. Often, we just need to make adjustments to how we are doing the brain retraining work. If you want to start practicing, up next, I have an embodiment practice for pain and symptoms where you can start to approach brain retraining differently. I'll put the link in the description of this video. Take care.